actually met her during the early work program. I'm excited to be seeing her once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, with your virtual claps, I want to see the claps. So it's not that I'm saying clap now. You were just looking at me. With your virtual, exactly. Well done. Let's make welcome Ayomaji for her goodwill message. It's nice to have you, Ma.
Hello. Hello and good morning. It's my pleasure to be here this morning, joining all of you at what has been termed as an inaugural event for Project Spark. And I'm happy to see that seeds that were sown continue to germinate. And we're hoping to see a lot, brought forth from various initiatives from your cohort. So congratulations to Abdulaziz and the group who have put this together this morning. And I'm honored to be invited to take the keynote or goodwill message. Charles will be taking the keynote. Thank you very much, Charles, for making time to join us this morning. We seem not to have spared any of your Saturdays, but thank you, and I hope it's going to be pretty worthwhile for you. So we're talking about ethical leadership this morning. A handshake or a handout to Africa? That's a question that, is... Can we all mute, please? If the host can please mute everyone except who is supposed to be speaking, that would be useful. So handshakes or handouts, that's a question that has lingered for ages. And in Africa, perhaps it is time, just like we're doing this morning, to look into ourselves and ask ourselves some, tough questions. Handshake or handout, it is still your hand. It is still the hand of Africa that is being stretched out. So whether it ends up being a shake or things dropped into your hands is really up to the receiver. It's up to the owner of that hand. So I'm looking forward to hearing the debate, later. But I'm privileged to be talking to you this morning just on the platform of ethical leadership, which is what we in Aliwa are about. It's much more than having laws and regulations or even saying we adhere to, whatever laws and regulations have been laid down. It's actually about fostering an environment where integrity, fairness, respect are at the forefront of every decision that is made. Integrity, fairness, respect at the forefront of our decisions and our actions as individuals. I'm happy we're all leaders on the call this morning. Ethical leaders are those who lead by example, demonstrating honesty, transparency in all their dealings, and they inspire others around them to do the same. In Africa, there's a lot of do as I say and not do as I do. Because we know that if everybody did as others did, we would have anarchy. We have on the continent and in our country, a lot of people feel the laws are not for them. Laws are for other people. So they can behave and do as they wish. That is in no way ethical. And as leaders, at whatever level we find ourselves, we must subscribe to that. Lending ourselves, submitting ourselves to the rules in whatever team, group, nation, community local government, organization. Being ethical is understanding that those rules are not made for everybody else but us, regardless of who we are and who we know. So ethical leadership is essential for various reasons: trust and credibility. For people to buy into your vision, they must first of all buy into your person. If they don't buy into your person, there's no trust, there's no credibility. Trust me, you cannot fool people for too long. Ethical leadership, for whatever success that we're able to record, for it to be sustained, we need to be ethical as leaders. To have a positive culture in our homes, families, communities, organizations. What's the tone at the top? What's the tone at the top? Very important. Please, Agnes, signify when I need to stop. I didn't start with a time or timer. There's social responsibility. So I congratulate the group this morning for putting this together, because by putting this debate out there, they are also prepared to challenge themselves. They are prepared to submit themselves. They're prepared to answer the tough questions. I believe they're prepared to do whatever is necessary to advance the cause of a nation, of a community, of an Africa that is holding its own in the global space, not a receiver or recipient of handouts or whatever the debate determines at the end of the day is the answer. Ethical leadership takes away all ambiguity and resistance to progress. When you see a leader walking the talk, then you know that this is time for serious action. I wish we saw from our leaders across the continent, leaders who listen, who feel the pulse of their people, leaders who submit themselves even to the rules they've laid down for everyone else. Without taking much of your time again, congratulations to the promoters of Project Spark this morning. Happy to be with you. Happy to see that you're pushing the envelope and making your voices heard out there, promoting what it takes to build a good society. Congratulations and well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just as expected. Okay, so one thing that stands out for me is the fact that you said ethical leaders lead by example. Thank you so much, ma'am. So we're just going to go straight to the next goodwill message, and that will be taken by Professor Chris Johnstone. So I'll just call up Uyi. Uyi will be doing the bio, and then we'll move from there.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Agnes, once again. All right. Okay, Christopher Johnstone is an American professor in comparative and international development education. His research focuses on inclusive education and the internationalization of higher education, particularly in South Asia and Eastern and Southern Africa. His current project includes employment in Bhutan, leading the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and evaluating inclusive education for UNICEF. He has worked on education and development projects worldwide, with a particular emphasis on Sub-Saharan Africa and the South Asia current studies, include livelihoods in Kenya and Tanzania, India, and equity issues in internationalization at the University of Minnesota. I present to us Professor Chris Johnstone of the University of Minnesota. Thank you.
right, is Professor Chris on the call? Okay, welcome.
I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to. Hello and good day. My name is Christopher Johnston. I'm a professor of education at the University of Minnesota in the U.S. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to.
So I see that we're having a technical issue. Just hold up a little bit, and it's obviously a pre-recorded Google message. So we just hold up for a little bit, and then I'm sure that will be figured out. And if that doesn't come up after a few minutes, we'll be going to the next Google message. So,
Hello and good day. My name is Christopher Johnston. I'm a professor of education at the University of Minnesota in the U.S. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the great debate that you're about to undertake and tell you how excited I am about this opportunity that you're going to have. Non-governmental organizations play a vital role in our societies, all of us, and how to do the work best is really something that requires a lot of reflection, a lot of research, and at times a lot of debate. So I'm very happy that you're going to have this opportunity today with Dr. Uyosa, who I first met when he was a Mandela Washington Fellow at my university. You're all future leaders. I think you've got great potential, but it's important to debate. It's important to have some back and forth about the best way to proceed with the good work of NGOs. I wish you the best in this process. I wish you a great couple of days with this opportunity through Spark. And please debate hard, but debate respectfully and go forward with your good work. Thank you all.
thank you so much. Thank you. That was beautiful. Okay, that was beautiful. So we're going to move forward to, I think there's a bit of a technical issue, but I guess we'll just move on. Okay, kindly indicate if you can hear me and you can see me. Kindly indicate in the chat if you can hear me and you can see me, so I'm not just rambling. Okay, so much, Ernest. Okay, thank you, Professor Chris. That was an amazing one. We're just going to move on to the next Goodwill message, and we're taking that from Mr. Nuruddin Ibrahim, Program Officer, Prevention Mitigation Services, the United Nations. I don't know if it's off. Is he on the call? If it's not on the call, we'll have to go to the next person. Okay, so I will just notify that he's not on the call. So we're just going to move down to the next person. So if we have this person, okay. Right, to Mr. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm getting a lot of notifications up here. So we're just going to take Mr. Chinasa Imo, the Executive Director of CEDAR Hub. Okay. I'm so sorry, but I think I missed. Okay. Chinasa Imo would be the next Google message giver. So I would call you up to take the bio at this point. Thank you, guys. I'm so sorry for the technical delay and the issues as well. You're up.
All right, thank you once again, Agnes. Permit me the pleasure to introduce to us this morning, Mrs. Chinasa Imo. Mrs. Chinasa Imo is an accomplished development and global health policy strategist, currently pursuing a PhD at University of Chicago Crown Family School of Social Work, Policy and Practice. Our expertise lies in utilizing political economy analysis and participatory approaches to examine and formulate policies and programs that strengthen health systems, enhance governance, foster social accountability, and advance access to quality healthcare. Permit me to welcome on this call Mrs. Chinasa Imo. Thank you very much, madam.
Hi, everyone. Can you see me or hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
both.
I can see you.
Thank you. Sorry, this is very early in the morning, so things are not working right in my brain. And I think I'm one of those people who is not quite an early riser. Okay, so thank you very much to the organizers of this event for putting together this beautiful debate and the projects in its entirety. My name is Chinasa Imo, and like I've been introduced, I am the founder of an organization called Innovation Hub for Inclusiveness, Empowerment, and Social Development. And what we do, in shortened form, we call the organization CD Hub. What we do is to empower young people to deploy creative strategies towards shaping policy agendas at state level. So currently we're based in the eastern part of Nigeria and expanding from there. Now, I'm so happy to be invited to do a goodwill message, especially for the fact that this program is targeted to the youth. And I see it as an opportunity to bring up young people to think differently. When I was looking at the debate topic, handout or handshake, right? I smiled and I was like, I wish there is a third debating group that is actually looking at hand twists. Because when you read a lot of development arguments around it in Africa, you would see that sometimes it's a bit of a handshake when, I don't want to take up the argument from the debaters, but there's a bit of a handshake, there's a bit of a handout somewhere, depending on the ideologies behind how projects are created, and call them aids, in quotes. But for the last couple of years now, we've seen a lot of hand twisting, the use of aid as a tool to arm twist the people in power and the common man to do the bits of the aid giver. So why am I bringing this about arm twisting? If we start to, as young people, see aid as a controlling mechanism, then we begin to see how this narrative about the global divide between the South and the West, the first world and the third world are being created, and how it's being pushed with the kind of globalized or globalization strategies that is being moved around. And through the youth, if we open our eyes and our ideologies and mindsets to begin to think around how this is affecting our development trajectory, especially for those who are thinking beyond the current systems that we are practicing, then we can begin to find solutions around how to reduce the level of arm twisting happening with aid money, development funding, not just from nonprofits, or to nonprofits, but development funding in general, from multilateral bargaining, from bilateral agreements, and from multilateral organizations who come up with, policies and funding conditions that continue to keep us in the narratives of third world countries. So I would not want to take up your space. Like I said, I'm looking forward to hear all that will come up in the debate, and not just for the purpose of argument making, but for the purpose of re-engineering our mindsets on how we think about the role of nonprofit organization. I started my nonprofit in Nigeria, and since I started it, my whole idea is to create local solutions with local people without overbearance of global funding mechanisms that conditions us to do certain things to fulfill the kind of narrative, the kind of strategy and data set that tells a certain kind of story. And while many of us have the ideas of starting up a nonprofit, starting up an entrepreneurship, starting up social impacts, ventures, think about the opportunities and think about the opportunities, the materials, and the ideas that reside within the local environment, and how we can harness all that and pull them into problem solving that suits the kind of solution that we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I liked when you spoke about harnessing local opportunities. That's one thing that young people will need to start looking at this moment. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's really a pleasure to have you.
You're
So
welcome.
we're just going straight down to our keynote speaker, and then I've been told that he's in the house. So we're going to go to having him on our virtual stage at this point, Mr. Siati Charles Como. I'm hoping I did not murder that name. I'm so sorry if I did, but he's an analyst at the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change in Sierra Leone. You're welcome, sir. So Uyi, are you doing the honors?
All right. Once again, thank you, Agnes. It's my pleasure to introduce to us our keynote speaker this morning, Mr. Siati Charles, please pardon, Como. All right. Mr. Siati is a social development professional with diverse experience in agriculture, legal administration, and project management. He has a comprehensive understanding on Africa's political and economic landscape and culture, legal framework, and international SDGs, especially in Sierra Leone, his home country. He has experience in high-level international engagement, adept at research and analysis. He is committed to advancing food security and entrepreneurship. He's a co-founder of Green Entrepreneurs Limited, which collaborates with farmers cooperative in Sierra Leone to export local produce. He also serves as a technical assistant to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security in Sierra Leone, forging his dedication to public service and agricultural development. I present to us this morning, Mr. Siati Charles Como. Good morning, sir. The floor is over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. What he might not have added is that I'm also a part of the 2024 cohort of the Aliwa Youth Leadership Program, by virtue of which I'm here today. It's both an honor and a pleasure to speak to you on the rather profound topic of Saving Africa, Handouts or Handshake, the role of NGOs in African development. So many reasons I'm happy to be a part of this event. It offers a platform to share insights and foster discussions among young Africans who are passionate about the future of our continent. Events like these embody the spirit of Pan-Africanism, bringing together diverse voices and ideas to tackle the changes we face. It's through such dialogues that we can inspire the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers in our continent. So let's get into it. To truly appreciate the current landscape of NGO involvement in Africa, we must first delve into the historical context and evolution of these organizations. The story of NGOs in Africa is the tale of resilience, adaptation, and the relentless pursuit of betterment for the people. In the early days, during the colonial period, formal NGOs were virtually non-existent. Instead, communities relied on traditional structures and mutual aid systems to address social issues. However, with the advent of colonialism, this dynamic shifted dramatically. Colonial administrators often neglected the social needs of the indigenous populations. Instead, they mostly focused on exploiting resources and maintaining control. It was within this context that missionary organizations emerged as early non-governmental actors, providing education, healthcare, and other social services. These missions laid the groundwork for what would be a more structured NGO presence. Yet it wasn't until post-independence era in Africa that NGOs began to flourish significantly. By post-independence era, I'm referring to the period following the decolonization of African countries, which generally took place from the late 1950s to the 1970s. During the 1970s and 1980s, Africa faced severe economic crisis characterized by high inflation, soaring debt, and collapsing infrastructure. Governments struggled under these burdens and couldn't meet the basic needs of their population. It was during this period that NGOs stepped in to fill the void. Organizations like Oxfam and the Red Cross became household names, delivering much needed relief and development aid across the continent. Take Ethiopia, for example. During the 1984 famine, international NGOs played an important role in delivering food and medical aid, saving countless of lives. This intervention was crucial, yet it also highlighted a critical issue: dependency on foreign aid. While NGOs, yes, provided immediate relief and all of that, the long-term sustainability of such interventions was questionable. The Rwanda genocide in 1994 further underscored the importance of NGOs. Organizations like the Médecins Sans Frontières, which translates to Doctors Without Borders, were on the front lines providing medical care amidst the chaos. Their work was indispensable, yet it also raised ethical questions about the role of NGOs in conflict zones and their ability to operate independently in politically charged environments. Fast forward to the new millennium, we see NGOs continuing to evolve. The end of the Cold War brought new challenges and opportunities. The global push towards neoliberal policies saw a reduction in state interventions and an increase in the role of private actors, including NGOs. This shift was epitomized by the structural adjustment programs of the 1980s and the 1990s, which, while they intended to stabilize economies, often resulted into reduced public spending on social services. NGOs were called to bridge this gap. However, this story doesn't end there. The modern landscape of NGO involvement in Africa is complex and multifaceted. While traditional aid models have provided critical support, they've also faced criticisms for fostering dependency and undermining local governance structures. Today, as we know it, NGOs are an indelible part of Africa's development architecture. They operate in diverse fields from healthcare to education to human rights and environmental protection. However, the question we ponder here today still remains: are they delivering handouts, or are they fostering genuine partnerships for sustainable development? Traditional aid models have had mixed results. On one hand, they've provided critical relief in times of crisis, supported health and education initiatives, and they've advocated for human rights and good governance. On the other hand, these models have often been criticized for fostering dependency, undermining local institutions, and failing to addressing the root causes of poverty. One of the main criticisms of the traditional aid is that it often comes with strings attached, as I believe as one of the previous welcoming statements mentioned. Sometimes it comes with strings attached, reflecting the priorities of donors rather than the needs of the communities. This had sometimes led to a mismatch between aid efforts and local development goals, resulting into projects that are unsustainable or irrelevant to the community needs. For example, the Millennium Villages project initiated in 2005 by the economist Jeffrey Sachs aimed to demonstrate that integrated community-led development could lift villages out of poverty. So while it did achieve some success, such as improving health outcomes and agricultural productivity, it also faced criticisms for a top-down approach and the reliance on external funding, which raised questions about sustainability and scalability. To move beyond handouts, NGOs must focus on building long-term equitable partnerships. This would mean engaging deeply with local communities, understanding their needs, and working collaboratively to develop sustainable solutions. Effective partnerships are based on mutual respect, trust, and a shared vision for development. The concept of handshakes rather than handouts encapsulates this approach. It emphasizes the importance of collaboration, capacity building, and empowerment. When NGOs work alongside local governments, private sector partners, and community organizations, they can leverage each other's strengths and resources to achieve greater impact. Let me bring this discussion closer to home, my country, Sierra Leone. As mentioned by the person that introduced me, thank you very much. I do work at the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And in our journey to enhance agricultural productivity and ensure food security, we've seen the crucial role that NGOs can play. The Feed Salone program, which I'm very proud to be a part of. Salone is a short form of Sierra Leone, just like when you say Niger for Nigeria. It's kind of like a colloquial thing. The Feed Salone program is a flagship initiative aimed at transforming our agricultural sector. This program focuses on increasing local agricultural production, reducing reliance on food imports, and creating jobs for our people. In Sierra Leone, the NGOs in our space have been very instrumental in different facets of this program. While the government, of course, always wants to do a lot, government doesn't have all the resources, unfortunately for us. However, we do want to achieve very lofty and ambitious targets that we have set. Collaborating with the partners, international partners and NGO is essential. At the inception, I would remember this very well. It's actually one of the highlights of the planning of the Feed Salone. At the inception of the program, our minister convened all the NGOs in Sierra Leone working in the agriculture space with an agriculture focus. And at the meeting, the hall was full, jam-packed. Not even all of them could sit down, and the hall was actually big. And the minister requested for them to disclose their budget allocations for agricultural support in 2024. The collective funding of all these NGOs was so substantial that it far exceeded the ministry's own budget for 2024. So this collaboration with them has enabled us to leverage additional resources and expertise, significantly amplifying our impact. However, it's important also to acknowledge the challenges. The 2014 Ebola outbreak in West Africa, including Sierra Leone, which faced it in a very big way, I was here, highlighted both of the strengths and weaknesses of NGO interventions. Organizations like Doctors Without Borders and the Red Cross were at the forefront of this battle of the response, providing critical healthcare services and helping to contain the outbreak. Yet the crisis also exposed gaps in coordination and need for a stronger healthcare system. To build on these experiences, we must emphasize capacity building and local ownership. NGOs should not merely deliver services, but should empower local institutions and communities to take charge of their own development. This approach is reflected in our Feed Salone strategy, where we are working to expand extension services, improve seed and input systems, and leverage agricultural technologies. The goal we have is to build resilience and ensure that our farmers have the skills and resources they need to thrive. So looking ahead at emerging trends and future directions, several emerging trends will shape the future of NGOs in Africa. The integration of technology and innovation is revolutionizing how NGOs operate. Digital tools can enhance transparency, improve monitoring and evaluation, and facilitate better communication with our stakeholders. Mobile technology, in particular, offers new opportunities for reaching remote communities and delivering services efficiently. Moreover, there is a growing recognition that development must be locally led. This means investing in local capacity, supporting local NGOs, and ensuring that development initiatives are driven by those that are closest to the issues. In Sierra Leone, we have seen the benefits of this approach through initiatives like the Chiefdom Youth Farm Project, which aims to create employment for 10,000 youths by cultivating 8,000 hectares of rice. This project, driven by local leadership and supported by NGOs, is an example of how we can create sustainable, locally owned development. Another key trend is the increasing role of partnerships with the private sector. The private sector has a critical role to play in development. NGOs can partner with businesses to leverage their expertise, resources, and innovation. These partnerships can create jobs, stimulate economic growth, and drive sustainable development. Furthermore, NGOs must continue to advocate for policies that promote social justice, equities, and sustainable development. By engaging in policy dialogue and working with governments, NGOs can help to create an enabling environment for development. So just to run across some examples of successes that NGOs have done in Africa, one notable case that I want to highlight to you is the Green Belt movement in Kenya, founded by the late Professor Laureate Wangari Maathai in 1977 under the auspices of the National Council for Women of Kenya. So this was done to respond to the needs of rural Kenyan women who reported that their streams were drying up, their food supply was less secure, and they had to walk further and further to get firewood for fuel and fencing. This organization encouraged the women to work together to sow seedlings and plant trees to bind the soil, store rainwater, and provide food and firewood. And they received monetary tokens for their work. This movement's impacts have been profound, not only in terms of reforestation, but also in fostering a sense of community ownership and environmental stewardship. In Uganda, the NGO BRAC has made significant strides in improving health, education, and economic opportunities for the poor. Their integrated approach, which combines microfinance, education, healthcare, and agriculture, has helped to lift many millions out of poverty. So we can see that BRAC's success lies in its ability to adapt its programs to the local context and empower communities to take charge of their own development. So some of these examples that I'm highlighting, they show the potential of NGOs to drive sustainable development when they adopt a community-centered approach. That is the important thing here, a community-centered approach. It is crucial to recognize that the impact of NGO, however, is not uniform. There are various factors: context, the nature of interventions, and the level of community involvement. In my role as the technical assistant to the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security in Sierra Leone, one fortunate thing that links me quite a lot with this topic is that I do get to engage a lot with several international partners in the space and NGOs that operate in the sector. One thing that I've learned with this experience is that sustainable development requires collaborative efforts. The challenges we face in agriculture are multifaceted, ranging from low productivity and post-harvest losses to climate vulnerabilities and inadequate infrastructure. Addressing these challenges require a holistic approach that leverages the strengths of all the stakeholders in the space. By working together, we can harness collective potential of governments, partners, NGOs, the private sector, and most importantly, the communities to build a better future for all Africans. To wrap up my keynote, thank you all for being with me so far. The role of NGOs in African development is evolving. While traditional aid models have their place, the future lies in building genuine partnerships that empower local communities and promote sustainable development. It is about how we can combine the best elements of both to create a more just and prosperous Africa. As we move forward with the discussions and the ensuing debates that would be had here today, let us remember that development is not something that can be done to people or for people. It must be done with people. I will say that again. Development is not something that can be done to people or for people. It must be done with people. Thank you all for your attention. I look forward to the ensuing discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. That was very, in fact, that was deep. And for someone who works as a social entrepreneur, I was just hearing things like partnerships, because I was really taking notes. I was taking notes of these things: partnerships, collaborations, stakeholders. And again, thank you so much for taking us back history lane, mentioning how NGOs even came to be, and all that. And I like when you mentioned community-centered approach. So, and of course, the last thing you just said about it not, and development cannot be done to people or for people, but what? With people. Thank you so much, sir. So we're going to be taking the opening poll. So Ernest, I think Ernest is supposed to be the person to administer that. I think that should be in the chat. I'm not sure, but Ernest, over to you. After that, we'll take. After that, it will be the moment that we all have been waiting for, the debate. Okay, so Ernest, over to you.
All right, thank you, Agnes, for the wonderful job you're doing, and thank you everyone for staying with us up to now on the call. So we're just going to take this poll. The idea is for us to just have an idea of what you have in your heads before the debate. And then after the debate, we're still going to take another poll so that we just for our own use at the back end here. So how we're going to go about the poll is we're having 4 questions, and we wanted using the poll from the Zoom, but we had technical issues that we were unable to use that. So we had another option, which is when I read out the question, whichever option that you're going out for, you just put 1A, 1B, 1C, or 1D. So the first question is, in your view, what is the most critical factor for achieving sustainable development in Africa? A option says increased financial aid from developed countries. B says strengthening local institutions and governance. C says fostering innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa. And D say all of the above. So whichever option you choose, there's no right or wrong answer. This is just for our own use at the back end. Just put 1A, 1B, or all of the above.
Ernest, should we drop it in the chat?
Yes, in the chat.
Okay.
So Abdulaziz, can we go to the next?
Okay, Ernest, is that it?
No, this is the first question. We're going to the second question now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How can NGOs be most effective in supporting African communities? A, we have by providing direct humanitarian assistance, by focusing on capacity building and skills development. C, by advocating for policy changes and transparency. Then D, through a combination of the above approaches. So for this, you say either 2A, 2B, 2C, or 2D. Okay. All right. The next question. Rank the following factors in order of importance for African development. A, effective governance, government leadership, investment in education and healthcare, infrastructure development, private sector growth and job creation. So for this, we say 3A, 3B, 3C, or 3D. All right. The final poll. In your own words, we just want to hear in your own words, what is one specific action that NGOs can take to be more impactful in Africa? So after this, we'll now go into the debate proper. All right, Agnes, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I was just typing the answer to the last poll before you called me on. So thank you so much, Ernest. So we're supposed to move on now to the debates. I cannot wait. I don't know. Can you guys wait? Please drop in the chat. I want to see some. I can't wait. Yes, let's move. Yes. Let me see that, that drive, that passion in the chat, please. Are you guys alive? Are you guys alive? Oh, I'm just talking to myself. Please, let me see that reflect in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I can't wait. Good, great. Thank you. At this point, I'm just going to invite Hashim Adamu to handle this session that we've all been waiting for. Over to you, Hashim. Thank you.
Hi, Agnes. Thank you so much for that wonderful facilitation so far. Well, I can't wait either. I know I will be moderating the session, but then the passion and energy from behind the scene, I can't start to imagine the energy and the, what's it called, the enthusiasm and that's our young leaders will be bringing. So good morning once again. My name is Hashim Adamu, and I am an Africa Regional Representative of UNODC Generational Justice Youth Network. It's interesting that I'll be moderating this debate session. And like I mentioned earlier, it's indeed a honor and a privilege, and thanks to the Aliwa and Project Spark for this opportunity. But before I start, I know the energy, it's still intense, but let me just give you a picture of what's something to imagine. Imagine Africa is standing behind, before us here, and on one side, we have a stretch of handshake, like an act of compassion from AIDS to relief and even solidarity, what you may call a handshake. And on the other side, we have an act that symbolizes mutual partnership and shared responsibility. So as an African who understands the challenges faced in Africa, what choice will you make? So this is what our young leaders are going to help us with ideas and thought and making the right choice and decision. But before I proceed, I want to make certain ground rules. And this debate is going to last for, this session is going to last for like 25 minutes. And each team have a maximum of 10 minutes to speak. And the entire session is going to be in 3 rounds. And our thought is the first round is going to be like an opening statement. And then the second round is going to be more like a response, or if you like, a contribution, or share your concern regarding a point your opponent is making. And the last session is going to be your closing statements. Just to also stress that young leaders that will be participating in this debate are incredible personalities. I know one of the person is the regional, oh, thank you so much for that. This is Favor, and She has like a standing reputation academically and of course in her professional pursuits. And the other person is even the Africa regional representative of Catskill International. So the energy is really, really, really intense from behind the scene. And this is where I stress also that let's also remember that in this room, there are aspiring politicians, aspiring diplomats, there are scholars, they are experienced resource persons. And the conversation we are going to have today, it's literally going to affect all of African stakeholders because we are not just trying to address the immediate problem, but we are looking towards long-term sustainable solutions. So let the debate begins. Let me start with Aloysius. Aloysius, the theme of the debate is handshake or handouts. What do you think? Over to you, Aloysius. Aloysius, if you're speaking, your mic is muted. You may want to check that, please.
Okay,
yes,
sorry.
Thank you.
Am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well. I appreciate if you're a bit more audible. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I am Aloysius Bisiama from Sierra Leone, and I bring you greetings from the land of gold, honey, and milk. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and worthy opponents, allow me to paint a vivid picture of the current state of it in Africa. Today, we stand at a crossroads with a critical question. Are non-governmental organizations actually offering an impact to development in the African continent, or they are only giving a mere handout? I stand before you I sit before you this morning to argue for the motion that NGOs in Africa are giving mere handouts. They are providing these handouts in disguise of charitable gesture, failing to provide sustainable development in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by making this very clear. It might sound disheartening, but it is crystal clear that Africa will continue to linger in poverty, will continue to thrive and drive with underdevelopment if we continue to appreciate the current nature at which NGOs are operating in the African continent. While we devour into this depth of the debate, we must also acknowledge the noble intention behind the work of the NGO. At the same time, we should also not lose sight over critically analyzing the effectiveness of their impact in the African continent. The history of NGOs in Africa can be dated back in the early 70s to the 80s. It's quite too long. Africa will have been a paradise, serving as a reference point for other continents to come. Africa has all the natural resources, and we have the human capacity development to become one of the best. We have everything. The West run to Africa to gain natural resources and all. But where is our stand today? The big question is, despite we have approximately over 400 to 700,000 non-governmental organizations in Africa, the big questions that I want to leave with everyone this morning is, have Africa moved away from the shackles of the many problems that we are encountering? Have we been able to remedy the many challenges that we are going through in the African continent? Africa is a rich continent. We have talent and resilience. But what? Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you this morning to consider the harsh realities faced by many African nations. Why aid often only provide a short-term relief, leaving no sustainable impact on the African continent? I want to challenge every leader this morning. When we talk about ethical leadership, I want to practically and emphatically say that there is nothing like ethical leadership in Africa. I stand to be corrected. It is disheartening. You can see from my facial expression that it's burdened my heart to argue on this particular point. Imagine the continent that will have been a paradise where the West will run and seek advice and they will seek for resources. Africans are the most, if not for the influence or they believe that the West have made us to see that Africans are weak. I can practically tell you that the wisest people that ever existed can be found in Africa. But with all of this, what have we gone to show? Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to join me this morning to advocate for a shift from the current operation of NGOs. They are giving me a handout. The major problem we are encountering is 90% of people go into non-governmental organizations to make money, not to create the impact. We are using the African community. We use our power. We take situation of the circumstances of the less privileged to make money. Come to Africa, where non-governmental organizations only provide a smoke rising report at the expense of the poor. They will write calculated and false report just to make money. Throwing light to what the keynote speaker was saying, with no disrespect, but I want to outrightly say that the many instances he was talking about, the children youth empowerment is critically not visible. I live in Sierra Leone and I'm coming from the eastern part. It is quite disheartening that most of those governmental organizations operating in Africa, why they leave, the relief they are providing is entirely not creating any kind of sustainability. It's only providing short-term relief. Let's make reference to the Ebola and the coronavirus. When people were provided with short-term relief, today those people are still lingering and dancing in poverty. Without much ado, and for the exigency of time, ladies and gentlemen, for the progressive NGO in African development, let's replace this handout with handshake. Together, we can shape the future of Africa. Africa has everything it takes to change Africa into the better version, but because we have been brainwashed, this reminds me of the assumption made by Birago Diop, a one-time African writer, who said Africans have been very much sentimental to the Western ways, thereby paying little or no attention to their culture. He further went ahead and said Africans can no longer succeed in their own culture, neither will they succeed in the Western culture. We have found ourselves in the middle of the deep sea. This is why, despite the impact they are creating, the NGOs are creating, we have found ourselves in the middle of the deep sea. Where is Africa? Take, for instance, Nigeria alone can produce more than 400,000 non-governmental organizations. But why is Nigeria still it is? Talking about my own country. Me today in advocating for a better shift. And I want to end my introductory speech with a quote from Muammar Gaddafi. He says, let's be the change that we want to see. For African to move, for African to develop in every aspect of life, I think we need Nelson Mandelas all over Africa. We need generational 4 leaders if change is to see. I will continue to say this again. We will continue to dance in poverty, endure inequality, underdevelopment, and having nothing to show if we continue to appreciate the current trend at the organization. There is a short adage and very brief one that says, when you give a man a fish, you've just fed that man for a day. But if you teach the man how to fish, I can assure you that man will be fed for forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicious, for that wonderful introductory statements. Indeed, let's replace handouts with handshake. Well, that's your opinion. Thank you so much. So, Favor, again, back to you. The topic still remains Saving Africa, handouts or handshake. And you've heard from Alicious. I know you have your a remarkable introductory statement. So over to you. Thank you, Favor. Favor? Okay, she's still struggling too. Favor, if you're speaking, your mic is muted. Please, you may want to check that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for being here. My name is Honor Favor Ijoma from the eastern part of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, when we think about developing Africa, many perceive handshakes from non-governmental organizations as effective, demeaning, and offering minimal real assistance. Some even view Africans as beggars in these interactions. However, I strongly disagree. Handshakes from non-governmental organizations are pivotal to Africa's development. Handshakes symbolize collaboration, commitment, and partnerships. They represent the concerted efforts to drive progress and innovation. Non-governmental organizations are at the forefront of this transformative change. They facilitate development through training, education, and the likes, significantly impacting communities across the continent. Non-governmental organizations serve as catalysts for sustainable growth. This holistic approach ensures that development is inclusive and far-reaching. In essence, non-governmental organizations, through their collaborative handshakes, drive substantial and sustainable development in Africa, proving that these partnerships are far from exploitative. They are essential. Permit me to give you some examples. NGOs have played vital roles in community development, such as healthcare, education, and economic empowerment, as well as peace building, conflict resolutions, and international partnerships. With a look at the Rotary Club, an international humanitarian organization. According to a 2020 study by the United States Department of State, the Rotary Club has significantly impacted Africans since its inception in 1905. Notably, Rotary's contribution to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative helped Africa achieve polio-free status in 2020, as declared by the World Health Organization. Rotary's educational programs have provided thousands of scholarships, improving literacy and job prospects, and also funded school reconstruction, such as those in Lagos, Uyo, and Gikambura School, Kenya. Economically, Rotary's microfinance projects have empowered many, especially women, to start businesses, boosting household incomes and economic stability. Example, Amina from Nigeria and Grace from Kenya, who received loans, expanded their businesses, and increased their household income. Also, Rotary's vocational training programs have reduced unemployment by equipping young people with necessary skills. The role of NGOs in African development through handshakes cannot be emphasized. Therefore, I see these handshakes as not exploitative. They are neither demeaning, but they are essential to African development. Thank you.
Indeed, the handouts are essential for African development to address the immediate relief. Thank you so much for that wonderful introductory statement, Favor. Alicious, you may want to respond to some of the concerns here, and you just have a few minutes to do that. I'm just gladly also to inform you that the chairman of this occasion has added a few minutes to you guys' debate, because it's like the energy, cutting it the time will not be too ideal. So we just have extra few more minutes. So Alicious, over to you, please.
Yes, thank you once again for your question. Of course, listening keenly to what my contender was saying, it is crystal clear that Africans, we have passion in lying. You know, it's quite disheartening that all of these things you was listening here are clearly not visible to a clear context. You know, the issue of loans, she was talking about the provision of loans to NGOs that have made that provision, but what is the sustainability of that? I will give you a scenario wherein currently they are running after people village to village in quest for them to pay back because they are not properly trained how to take. You know, the problem is the impact is there, but there is no sustainability. How do you expect a native man to thrive with a foreign policy? They bring those policies, they bring those development initiatives, and then they tend to impose. How can you even solve the problem of a native man without involving the native man into it? I can practically say that my colleague contender there is suffering from a psychological disorder we call cognitive dissonance. I believe are not even in line with the action. She is talking about employment. Can she clearly present to me the rate of employment for young people in Nigeria? Do we know how many thousands of non-governmental organizations we have in Nigeria? I want her to kindly provide to me the rate of unemployment rates in Nigeria. I can't talk about my country. Do you know how many graduates we have? They are seated at the back. Non-governmental organization has created, and they have created a fixed concept. They already have people. In fact, some of them, they employ people. Talking about employment, she is clearly lying, and she is a testament to what I'm saying. That employment is everywhere. Come to Africa, it is everywhere. Moving further, talking about education, why is that wants to be an still struggle with free qualification? If only, how do we know how many NGOs we have in Sierra Leone that are operating within the educational scheme? We have thousands of them. Reports indicating from development experts that the impact of NGOs in Africa has not been sustainable, and it can never be sustainable if the African man do not begin to think like an African man. We need to begin to think like an African. We need to develop our own initiatives. We have gotten this fake initiative that we cannot make a change on our own. Oh, Africa, my daughter, rise up. You are sleeping, wake up. How do we get this change to happen? You have already been brainwashed, giving me a fake statistical analysis. This is how NGOs used to do. They provide fake analysis, they take pictures of people that are deprived, they send them to donors. Why do you think today most projects are being supervised by the foreign, those that are providing the aid themselves? Because they want to see, they have been deceived initially. So they want to see the actuality of that. The problem we have is we have shied away from ethical leadership, and we believe that in Africa, for you to succeed, you have to be a liar, you have to be corrupt, you have to have a pollutive mindset, you have to subject to things that you are not supposed to subject to just because you want to make ends meet. The problem we have is Africans go into the world of NGO to make money, not to create any impact. I want to challenge that, and I want her to provide more statistical evidences like she was claiming. You know, so it is a mere handout. Mr. Ladies and gentlemen, and my distinguished judge, it will interest you to know that the fact that young people are suffering. We have countless non-governmental organizations in SPIA that has not been able to solve the problem. Let's talk about poverty. People have been fed for a daytime, but do we still not have poverty in Africa? You go to people that are begging. We have education, graduates have no job. Inequality. I don't know if I have much time and I can drive into more.
No, it's all because I'm getting concerns that I'm giving Alicious more time already. Alicious, I think over, it's fine. You can end it here. Hold on, Africa, Alicious calling you. Thank you so much, Alicious. Favor, you've had his concerns and shared his opinion regarding some of the statistics and points you raised, and you may want to, of course, address them and even shed more light on some of the issues you feel he needs to know better. And of course, let's stress also that this is a debate, like somebody said, not a war. And of course, we really like the passion and energy, and sometimes we wish we can even stream this live for our current leaders to see, even why we try to address the pains of today, let's work for the gains of tomorrow. So Favor, over.
Thank you so much. Now, I want to make it clear to my opponents that non-governmental organizations, which we know as NGOs, are not the government of the day, but they play a crucial role in fostering leadership, business, and technological growth through strategic partnerships. These organizations focus on leadership development by offering training mentorship, and resources which empower individuals and communities to drive social and economic progress. For instance, the Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, has trained thousands of young leaders across Africa in collaboration with various NGOs. This was founded by the former US President Barack Obama in 2010 during a visit to sub-Saharan Africa, and it aims at providing young Africans with skills and opportunities necessary to foster positive change in their communities and countries. YALI focuses on entrepreneurship, leadership development, and public management through the Mandela Washington Fellowship, YALI Regional Leadership Centers, and YALI Network. Now, according to a publication conducted in 2020 by the United States Department of State, YALI has trained over 25,000 young leaders across the continent, and they include John Smith from Nigeria, who established a tech startup aimed at improving agricultural productivity, Fatoumata Diallo from Senegal, who initiated a health awareness campaign targeting rural areas, and Kwame Mensah from Ghana, who launched a digital literacy program for disadvantaged youth. And as a result, YALI alumni have become influential voices in their communities and countries, advocating for youth inclusion and contributing to sustainable development goals. Furthermore, NGOs also play a vital role in addressing socio-economic and environmental challenges. And a prime example is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, established in 2000. It has significantly impacted Africa by combating diseases like HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis, supporting vaccine distribution, and promoting agricultural productivity through initiatives like the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA. Their efforts have helped eradicate polio, reduce malaria deaths, and improve food security for millions. Partnership with figures like Aliko Dangote and the Mo Ibrahim Foundation illustrates their transformative impacts. I still stand by saying that for Nigeria or Africa to be saved, it is through this collaborative handshake that we can just achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again, Favor. Well, incredible as always. Alicious, now we are wrapping up. I'll just allow you to respond to the fact that, yeah, you requested for more examples and statistics. I'm glad she mentioned YALI, Bill and Melinda Gates. This is where you give us your closing statements. Thank you so much. Alicious, over. And yeah, we really love the energy and passion, and of course the African way, but we want it to be more a bit diplomatic. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I will continue to reiterate that she has been brainwashed and she's not thinking African. That is the more reason she.
That's why I said you should be a bit more diplomatic. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So moving on, lack of sustainable impact, dependency on aid, inadequate addressing of systemic issues, and lack of community empowerment. These are the key issues that we cannot lose sight over when we look at the impact on non-governmental organizations in the African sphere. And now, as we clearly know, we are all aware of the operations of non-governmental organizations. This is something factual, this is something practical that we are truly, operating with every now and then. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed for Africa to become sustainable, to become stronger, to start producing the results that we want, we must build genuine partnership. Partnership that we have to involve the local man into the operation on the development of his own problem. It will be very easy for the local man to add value to the problem that he or she is being sought for. It will sound odd if you move to my own community and then you want to solve the problem in that community without involving me. You might only get answers that will not last long. Ladies and gentlemen, for non-governmental organizations to succeed in Africa, we need to take them through ethical leadership. I can practically say that majority of those leading those institutions are not ethical. Looking at the way at which they are doing their operation, they are sentimental. They do not operate to the African policies. It is because if you come to implement a project in Africa and you are funded by someone in the West, you are surely going to be remote controlled by that individual. So capacity building can be another option. We need to prioritize capacitating our own local assets. I can assure you there are Africans who have used scrapped materials to build radio stations, to build an helicopter. I watched recently a Nigerian who was able to build an aeroplane using scrap and it flies. This is just a clear indication that if African can give energy to providing support to the native man, we can be able to solve our own problem. We have resources, we have diamond, we have minerals, we have gold, we have everything. Why not this non-governmental organization prioritize building a long-lasting impact other than only following those policies? This is because we have been totally dependent on aid. And when you become totally dependent, you become entirely lazy. Let's say, for instance, if you send your child to school and providing every single thing for that child, the day you will not provide for that child will not move further. This is why some parents or a social psychologist once said, for society to move point A to point B, we need people that are developmentally oriented. And how do we develop these developmentally oriented people? You should not be overindulgent with your child. At the same time, you should not be too cruel with that child. When that happens, to be able to build developmentally oriented. And these are the set of things African need. We need to build people. We need to rebuild ourselves. We need a farmer. We can make a change. We can make progress. The West can come to us. We can start offering aid to other countries. It is always something you see. Have you ever heard of African giving scholarship to the West for them to come and read in our countries? It's simply because we have those NGOs with their hand out vision have made us total that we can no longer think. Our innovation have been whacked. Our level of thinking has increased. We have because we have influence. Even when they brought civilization, when they brought religion, they made us believe that our own fathers, our ancestors. Let's say what they say is true. Does that mean all our ancestors are now in hellfire? Because they're trying to look for means to keep us from thinking. We can make a change. We can actually create that impact that we want if we invest in what? Building our own resources, capacitating our own individuals, building strong partnerships on genuine, emphasizing on transparency and accountability. That is what is in Africa. We lack transparency and accountability. We normally blame our leaders, but if you even go to the NGO world, this can be visible every aspect. Conclusively, it is evident that the role of NGOs in African development is crucial one. They hand out by immediately to communities. It is this organization that moves beyond short-term innovation. We have beyond short-term relief. If all of the impact NGOs have made in the area of education, health, climate change, and all that systemic areas, if it has been sustainable, dated back from the early 70s, I can assure you, African will have the best continent to reside. They have the power to even strengthen our leaders. When they will have to work with the leadership of every country, especially in countries where politics is the order of the day. Like, for instance, in my country, where certain projects can be approved based on political affiliation. And they have accepted to dance to the tunes of this political drama. And how are we expecting this change? They are very good in lying. That is just the practical aspect of it. They will come and do fake and baseless. So, Africa is the best continent, and we have everything it takes to become one of the best continents and the paradise on earth. But we have to invest in ourselves. Until we begin to believe in our own local products, we will not go further. A man thinks that he can only achieve by the help of another man will never be able to build a roof on his head. This is what I take from my father. He says, as a young man, if you want to do something, do it to the best of the knowledge of everyone. If Africa decides today to do something to the best knowledge of the world, the West will come and they will seek aid for Africa. And then we change our mindset. We remove that ideology that impacted in us and pick up what was preached by our ancestors. What the African man is preaching, we can make a positive change. And then I thank you once again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Alicious. Indeed, the need for investing and collaboration and all cannot be overemphasized. And yeah, Favor, I'm back to you again for your closing statement. And you've heard Alicious, of course, the African way, the energy, the vibe, and I think one thing he has repeatedly stressed is that Africa can be a paradise on earth. So perhaps you may want to also share your concern, give your closing statement. Thank you, over.
Okay, thank you so much, the moderator. Yes, I agree that Africa can be a paradise, but though, can we look at our current state? Not looking so deep, but just look, you can see that Africa is already becoming a paradise gradually. Yes, of course, the Westerners are coming to be us here because they see the resources we have. They see what we have, they see our talent, and they see our willingness to work and work with them as well. Therefore, I would like to state that handshakes, that is through these NGOs, they drive Africa's development, and it's becoming very much evident in our time because this is what we are seeing. And I would love to conclude by stating that NGOs have profoundly impacted Nigeria and this our wonderful continent, Africa, through collaboration and empowerment. Let me remind us that handshakes symbolize effective partnerships that drive sustainable development in education, infrastructure, and economic growth. This initiative fosters independence, of course, discouraging dependence. It enhances healthcare and builds resilient communities. By addressing pressing issues such as poverty alleviation, diseases eradication, and agricultural productivity, NGOs create lasting positive changes across the continent, Africa. Their role in fostering transparency and accountability further strengthens Africa's development. Handshakes with NGOs are essential for mobilizing resources, expertise, and innovative solutions, ensuring long-term sustainability and a brighter future for all of us in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful closing statement. Indeed, I know there are concerns also and discussion, especially around regional cooperation and South triangular cooperation. Thank you so much once again in favor of that. NGOs are supplementing the work of government, among all other things that, of course, will be addressed by David. But I will be handing over the mic to Agnes to continue the impressive moderation and facilitating this session. But let me end by thanking Project Spark and Adiwa and all of you, the participants who were so diplomatic. I love the fact that you keep your mic muted, even when the energy and the support were coming from behind the scene. We're all professional in this. And thank you so much for making this session a wonderful one. Agnes, over.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hashim. That was a beautiful one. And just listening to Lucius and Favor, I was just, at some point, I was just about to shout, Aluta continua. So yes, thank you so much. That was how much energy and passion you exuded. So I'm going to be handing over the mic to Uyi, who is going to be taking contributions. Just like Hashim said, the chat was like vibrating during the session. So we had people being like, "Why will he even say that? How will she say that?" So now it's time for you to actually express those opinions. So Uyi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Once again, can we give a virtual round of applause to our debaters, Alicious Bisima and Favor Ono? Please, a virtual round of applause on the chat box. They've done marvelously well. I love the energy. Alicious, if it was a physical debate, you would have fought in this debate. All right, once again, good morning, everybody. From your time zone, wherever you are. Now, NGOs, do they give handshakes or do they give handouts? I want to put a little twist to this discussion this morning. Jeffrey Sachs, in one of his messages, said, how the West is underdeveloping Africa. And he talked about the role of AIDS support, NGOs. So do we think, actually, that the role of NGO in Africa, is it more of helping the continent or exploitative? So it is open to us to talk about it. That's one I'm going to bring us to talk about. Do we think the role of NGOs in the continent is actually helping the continent, or you think it's exploitative? I know the discussion has been on the chat box already, but I want everybody to talk. Please signify by raising up your hand and we'll back on you. Do you think the role NGO plays in the continent is more of exploitative, or you think it's more partnership and to help the continent grow? All right. If you want to talk, please indicate by, okay. Oluchi, all right. I saw your hand first, please. Go ahead. You have...
Thank you, everyone. My name is Oluchi Udi, and I'm one of the members or facilitators of Project Spark. And I've listened to the debaters. I've listened to them, air their views and suggestions. And as much as, it's a debate, every contribution is valid and it's subject to personal beliefs and orientation. For me, I will specifically say that NGOs are quite beneficial because they tend to bridge that gap, where the government is not able to access. They give immediate relief, they give survival support, and you cannot overrule the effects that these NGOs have had in, sustaining lives, helping people. We cannot even overemphasize the effect it's had during the wars. Imagine a country being at war. There's little or nothing that the government can do. But these NGOs, in quotes, non-governmental organizations, come into play and provide reliefs for people, victims of war, victims of poverty, victims of malnutrition. You can't, it's hard to overlook all of these things. So as much as we may say that these NGOs can be, what's the word now? Can be manipulative, it's still dependent on the type of NGOs and the individuals involved. There is always some, as human beings, there's always some level of manipulation, or greed, if I will put it that way, in our dealings. But whether we like it or not, these NGOs have, in so many ways, been beneficial. There are places or events where the government lacks in providing certain, reliefs, or what's the word now? Certain reliefs or contributions to their own citizens. But these non-governmental organizations come into play and they swiftly, help people in need. And of course, it's not done by their own financial, they gain financial aid from individuals, private individuals, to be able to run these things. And this is where some of them may go wrong because they become exploitative. Instead of using the funds that have been generated to help these people, they tend to siphon the funds and now give little or nothing to the people who are in need. However, NGOs are still beneficial. They've played a major role in survival, especially during wars. So this is my own contribution. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Oluchi. Okay, the next hand I saw was that of Ernest. Okay, well, Ernest, I won't call you yet. There's one on the chat box. I've always been seeing these powerful comments. Abdul Wasiu, you can bring that energy from the chat box to speak to us. So let us know your take. Do you think NGOs are actually providing handshake in terms of partnership, or you feel they are being exploitative? Abdul Wasiu, if you can join us on the call, it would be wonderful to have you.
All right. Good morning. I'm happy for that.
Can you raise your voice a bit? The voice is a bit faint. Go close to your mic or what you're using to communicate. Thank you.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. So I'm so happy to join this today debate, which is saving African handouts or handshake, the role of NGOs in Africa development. So, and I commend the debaters so far. So the both parties have said what they had, and we really enjoyed the two debaters. All right, I strongly believe that for Africa to be saved, it can only be two handshakes. I say this because it will promote independence and enhance continuity of lives. From the definition of NGO, because I realize that our debaters, one of our debaters is getting maybe something wrong from what the NGO is all about. NGOs are not there to take up the responsibility of government. They are just there to support the government themselves. So the NGO means a non-profit organization, group or institution that operates independently from a government and has humanitarian or development objectives. So partnership with NGOs lead to suitable system and structure put in place that will be able to stand the test of time, ensuring sustainability and longevity. So I will conclude that by saving Africa, teach me how to fish. You know, there is this saying in my language that teach me how to fish and not always giving me the fishes. You understand? The moment you empower me, you give me what I need to get myself equipped. You understand? So this is what this adage means. Teach me how to fish and not always giving me the fishes. Teach me how to make money. Let me be independent. Let me be on my own to make the money, not me always asking you for money. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Abdulwasiu. So is there anybody on the call that has a divergent view? If not, the next question I'm going to ask, I want to get our view on it. But is there anybody on the call that has a divergent view? Because all of us seem to be on, yes, handshakes are necessary, NGOs provide partnership, they help in development of the continent. Is there anybody with a divergent view who thinks NGOs, aside Alicious on the call? Okay, I'm going to ask a question. The AU Charter of 2063 promises to build a self-reliant Africa, independent of aid, self-sufficient. Now, this is my question. With the whole NGO, please, do you think we can actualize the 2063 Charter of a self-sufficient Africa? Do we think with the whole NGO plays in the continent, we can actualize the 2063 Charter? The floor is open for us to talk about it. We'll take 2 or 3 opinions from people. Do you think? I'm going to start with our keynote speaker, Mr. Komo Siati. Are you still on the call, sir? Mr. Charles Komo, I want to get your view on this. As regard the 2063 Charter of the AU, do you think Africa will be self-sufficient? Looking at the whole NGO place in the continent, because the aim is simply to be on our own as a continent. So do you think we can actualize that? Mr. Siati Komo, if you're still on the call, I would love to get your view on this, please. Thank you. Mr. Komo Siati. Before it comes up, any person with a wave of the hand that wants to try this question, do you think we can actualize the charter with the whole NGO place in the continent? Mrs. Chinasa, if you're on the call, Mrs. Chinasa, if you're on the call, I would love you to take this question. Do you think we can actualize the 2063 Charter with the whole NGO place in the continent? Can Africa be truly self-sufficient?
Hi.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. You have the floor,
Hello.
please.
Oh, yeah. Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, good. I said the AU has a 2063 Charter which promises to bring and self-sufficient Africa, self-sufficient Africa that doesn't require aid or depend on anything. My question is, with the whole NGO play, do you think we'll be able to actualize the 2063 AU Charter for the continent?
I am conflicted in answering this question, and you are laughing. You are laughing, and you can see why.
For me, that's for me. I want to know people's opinion.
Yes. Yes, I am conflicted in answering this question because I listen to both of the debaters and they make good points for what nonprofits is doing and what nonprofits are not doing. The truth is that as an incrementalist, I am not a proponent of abolitionism, right? But I'm seeing the role that I have played in two folds, in the development sector and in having a nonprofit, right? As one who have advised the government on how to do governance and institutionalization of government, and one who have done aids or nonprofit work in a way that provide immediate aid to people. So there are two things. I am most worried. I'm not worried about the charter and all the idealistic buildup that AU comes up with, right? And whatever other, like we have the Sustainable Development Goals. We started with the MDGs, now we are at the SDGs, and when it's 2030, it's almost here. Have any of the SDG indicators been addressed? That's the issue. So it's not about coming up with idealistic goals. It's about looking inward to look at the institutions that enables the actualization of those goals. If those institutions are not strong enough to lead sustainable transition, then we have questions to ask. Now, nonprofits on its own, I see them as a bridge. Why do I see them as a bridge? Because they have vicarious funding. That's the truth. They are not businesses, they are not social enterprises that fund things. Most, like we call them, non-profit organizations. They are not set up to make profits. So what that means is that most of us who have ideas on how to solve a solution depend on other people to give us money. And anybody who gives you money dictates the pipes of how you use that funding, which is why you would see organizations like Bill Gates, MacArthur Foundation, and the rest of them doing some good with certain conditions, with certain parameters of what they want you to use their funding to do. And that is where the problem is. And most of local nonprofits in Africa do not have local philanthropic stronghold that sponsors the work of nonprofits in Africa. That is where you start from asking the question, where is our funding coming from yet? If there is a transition of sustainable funding that holds the space, remember, NGO, what they do is bridge gap between government and institutions. They are not solutionists. It still lies with the institutions of government to solve problems through social safety programs. That comes from government agencies. Now, the NGOs liaise, partnership with these government agencies to implement the tenets of government. Now, look at all of us in Africa. First, we don't even know whether we want democracy, we want military, even the democracy, we don't know what we are practicing in its entirety. So it becomes a question of institution. What institution do we have? What is the institution that AU and other sub-regional government like ECOWAS are projecting? Do one for Africa for a certain period of time. Then we will start talking about the role of nonprofits, because we have proliferation of nonprofits everywhere. Everywhere you go, they are there, but they are not solutionists. They bridge the gap between what the oversights of government, what they cannot do in its entirety. That is what NGOs do. They come in to say there's a gap here, we need to solve this, but they themselves don't have funding to make their decisions. And that is the issue. So whether we do some good as non-profit organization, is like a child have malaria and you, as a non-profit, you are coming to do malaria eradication program and you're distributing drugs. You are just providing therapeutic help, but you're not solving the institutional problem, because there is an environmental aspect to addressing malaria issue beyond just using nets and giving, anti-malaria drugs. There is urban development issues that comes with addressing malaria epidemic that nobody is talking about. How do we plan our cities in proper ways that sewages have proper channels, that waste disposal have proper channels? Those are not things that NGOs will come and do. Those are things that government needs to sit themselves down and begin to implement projects that are actually sustainable, that is infrastructural, that has infrastructural design towards it, that provide local funding opportunities for now where we bring in private sectors to lead certain areas. Sometimes when people ask me, so maternal newborn health, which is like my area, how do you think that will be addressed? Do you think we should distribute free pads, free delivery kits? I'm like, those things are not the rudimental problem for women. They need sustainable economy, money, funding. If you make them have good jobs, if you make them have what to look out for, they can afford those things by themselves. But NGO comes in, let's distribute pad, let's give kids. All those things are remedial. They don't target the solution. So until we start looking at what are the fundamental issues and how do we solve them from that aspect, I don't know how to answer this question with a yes or no.
I think, okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Chinasa. I think you've actually answered it yes and no, actually, because we're still taking it back to the government, that the role of government in actualizing the AU Charter is very, very important. Before I go, I would love to take one more response from someone. I'm going to call somebody's name, Mr. Mark Kigbu. If I don't pronounce your name very well, please pardon me. Mr. Mark Kigbu, if you're on the call, still on the same question. Still on the same question, the AU Charter of 2063 that promises a self-sufficient Africa, do you think it can be actualized with the NGOs in it, or you feel NGOs will actually limit us from actualizing that goal? Mr. Mark Kigbu, if you're on the call and you can hear us, kindly unmute the mic and come on the call. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone that wanted to say the last words before we jump off? Just signify by raising up your hand or muting the mic, and I will allow you to speak for just 2 minutes, and then that's it. Any other person? Mr. Edmond Kanu, would you love to speak, sir?
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It's still on the same question. Do you think the AU Charter of 2063?
It has been.
Sorry, sir, we can barely hear you.
Yes.
Mr. Kanu, we can barely hear you. We can't hear what you're trying to say, sir. Can you try typing it in the chat box? If we can't hear you. Oh, it went off the call. All right. Once again, thank you very much for your.
Can I say something?
All right. Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so because I am facilitating, I'm trying to like hush, like keep my mouth and my opinions to myself. But since we're already ending the session, maybe I should just say a few things as like a chit chat with you. So maybe I'll be one-sided because I run an NGO, and everybody has come to just talk about NGOs, what handshake, handout, all that. And I'm just telling myself, as everybody kept talking, I was just really asking myself, am I giving handouts or I am having a handshake? So I don't think I've been able to fully answer that question. right? Because a few months ago, we got fully registered as an NGO in Nigeria. And if you're an NGO, you know it's a huge deal to get that happen in our space, in this country, especially when it comes to NGO registration, not just the business registration, right? So I would like to say that there are two types of NGOs. There are two categories. And the first categories are NGOs who are there to just, there's a symptom and they're like, okay, this is a problem. Let's see how we can solve this problem. Let's see how we can give immediate relief. Immediate relief. As per children are showing up to school hungry, let us see how we can make food provided for them. We can make food available for them. Those ones are trying to see how to proffer solutions to these questions, these things, these problems rising. And these are the issues that we have. We need to get to a point, because based on what you said, the charter and all that, I think that it's really possible, right, for us to get a sustainable, what will I call it now, to be sustainable, self-sufficient in ourselves. When NGOs get out from saying, I am going to help to solve the symptoms, and say we are going to trace these symptoms now to the root cause of these problems. For example, I'm a public school teacher, and most of the times I come to my class, children are hungry. So they sleep throughout my class, or they yawn throughout my class, or they don't blank out. Like, so my classroom objectives are failing. What do? I started telling myself, okay, I'm going to be the person in front of this. NEPA has done their work, so guys, pardon me. So I told myself that I have to do something, because I'm going to be seeing Bolu, Sukomi in front of me for the years, for the next what now? I mean, they are years through school. So let me see what I can do. So we started off by giving them meals in school. We say, okay, I cannot afford so many, I can't afford to give you meals for like an entire year or an entire term. So as soon as we get funding, we give the Iyalonje in the school. So she provides meals for them on a daily basis. And then before you know what's happening, we started telling our stories on social media, and we started getting funds. We started getting people telling us, we love what you're doing with these children. Take so and so. We're getting credit alerts from people all over the world, not just Nigeria. So that's how this whole NGO thing started. But after a while, we told ourselves that these people are going to get dependent on us, because we are just giving food, right? So they're going to wait for us to bring food the next day, so that they push their children to school. So they eat the food we're going to provide. And our jobs will just bring money, give them food, bring money, give them food. How long are we going to do that? So we started telling ourselves, okay, if children are showing up to school hungry, why are they showing up to school hungry? We started tracing the problem down to the fact that their parents lack the formal education or skill to take care of the basic needs of these children. Hence, they show up to school hungry. You can see now that the showing up to school hungry is just a symptom. The real problem was, in fact, the real problem is sitting down at home, right? So we have to leave giving them meals, because we are not, in 2 years' time, we'll still be giving meals. Nothing would change. So we have to get to a point where we said, okay, now in Ogun State, Nigeria, 60% of the women there don't have a means of livelihood. And more women than men are most likely to take the responsibility of family care. So most of the times, the women are the ones taking the burden of the home. What did we do? We decided to see how we would trace the hungry children to their moms. So we started handpicking the moms, and then we started doing skills acquisition for the moms. At this point, I can tell you that the first women who benefited from our project, because we didn't just give them the skill, we gave them sewing machines. Those people who did bag making, we gave them sewing machines. That's the difference now. Some NGOs will come and do skill acquisition and leave these people to their devices. You know they are hungry. Which money would they use to buy the sewing machine that you have trained them now, fashion design? How do you expect them now to buy sewing machine? How much is sewing machine? They're trying to survive. So these guys will go back to square one at the end of that your training. So we saw all of these gaps. We realized that at the end of the day, if we are doing trainings, we cannot do but give these tools over to these women. So at this point, we've been able to give 63 women these skills and sewing machines as well. So these women carry these sewing machines and put it anywhere in their house, and guess what? They start to change their stories because their children are not as hungry as they used to be anymore. My colleagues in school, we go to that class a few years from now, that problem will not exist because they will not be hungry children because their moms are empowered, right? So at the end of the day, we need to get to a point where we are asking ourselves the real problem. If we start telling, because I've told people about this by strategy, and they're saying, no, if children are hungry, you should give them food. If children are hungry, why not give them food? No, that is just a symptom. That's just it's just like having headache. You are not just giving Panadol. No, you have issues somewhere. You're supposed to deal with that, right? So I feel like if NGOs can come to a point, because I feel like I can do a whole masterclass on this. basically because this is what I do. Now they are telling NGOs that you cannot be NGOs alone. You have to be a social business. You have to get to a point where you are not waiting for humanitarian aid. You are not waiting for grants. You have something, you have a structure, a business model that enables you get funding so that you continue to do that good that you are doing. That way, before you know what's happening, we are self-sufficient to the extent that Nigerians are driving the change for Nigerians. We cannot wait for the government. Government has so much to think about. Someone was saying something that government needs to create more jobs. I said that is very wrong. Nigerians need to create more jobs. I have a son, and as he's going to school right now, I'm teaching him that you're supposed to go out there and be an entrepreneur. You're supposed to create jobs. You're supposed to go out there and start telling yourself, oh, I can create 5 placement jobs for Nigerians. I can create 10 jobs for Nigerians. I can create 20 jobs. Those are the things, those are the ways we are supposed to be bringing up our young people now. Before you know what's happening, what is unemployment? Unemployment will not exist now. We cannot be waiting for government. We're not in the industrial era where you finish from school and then there's a job waiting for you. Okay, guys, let me stop here. I'm so sorry.
I can see the pattern. Next time we'll add you to the debate. You take Alicia's position. But a nice job you're actually doing with your NGO. But what I would take from here is basically the fact that NGO cannot replace the government of the day. If we go to developed nations of the world, my dear, there are NGOs there. When we went to the Mandela training in the US, I saw an NGO group that provides food for less privileged Americans. Every day they give food. But the government also provides these basic infrastructure for them. NGOs cannot replace the government of the day. And that is why we must see all our government to accountability. Is the truth, my dear. Because the role of NGOs are a bit limited. Funding now is very difficult. Even the international groups are now a bit stingy with their money. So we still have to hold our government to accountability and also keep encouraging NGOs to do their best. Once again, thank you for having me on this section. We can go back, deliberate after the program. But once again, thank you. I'm handing over to Agnes. Agnes, take it up from here. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so I just wear back my facilitator hat. Thank you so much, Uyi. That was an amazing session. Okay, so we just call on Ernest to take the closing poll, and then we'll move on from there. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ernest.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being with us up to this moment. So we're going to take our closing poll just to see how far we have changed our perspective or we still maintain our positions. So we take the questions, and the polls are already displaying on our screen, but just kindly tick on whichever option you feel sits well with you. So the question 1 is, in your view, what is the most critical factor for achieving sustainable development in Africa? You can just choose one option. Is it increased financial aid from developed countries, strengthening local institutions and governance, fostering innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa, or all of the above? And then the number 2 question says, how can NGOs be most effective in supporting African communities? You can only choose one option. The first option is by providing direct humanitarian assistance, by focusing on capacity building and skills development, by advocating for policy changes and transparency through a combination of the above approaches. And then number 3, which is the most important factor for African development? Effective government leadership, investment in education and healthcare, infrastructure development, private sector growth, and job creation. Which of them is your option? There is no right or wrong answer. We just want to have different views and understanding here. And then the last question, just a little bit of typing, 100 to 200 characters. In your own words, what is one specific action that NGOs can take to be more impactful in Africa? In your own words, what is one specific action that NGOs can take to be more impactful in Africa? We just want to hear in your own words what you think is the best approach. Thank you. All right, Agnes, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Ernest. So we'll go over to the vote of thanks. I'll be calling up Aliyu Musa for the vote of thanks. So if you're up, kindly. Okay. Is Aliyu Musa on the call? Okay, so I just okay, so I'll just call up Ernest to take the vote of thanks. Thank you, Ernest.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for showing up today for this 2-hour section. We know there are a lot of schedules in your calendars, a lot of activities, but you chose to be here with us today. And this is a very important moment for us as youths, and for us as a continent, and even us as a nation. We thank you so much for giving us your time, your ideas, your perspective, and we hope that with these positive discussions we have had, though all of us have our own different views and perspectives, that we're going to put them together to shaping Africa, to be able to stand on our own, to be able to create for Africa by Africans what is for Africa, so that we can be able to stand in the table of kings and to be able to achieve a self-sufficient Africa. Thank you once more for always showing up, and we love you all.
All right, thank you so much. That was beautiful. I don't know if Uti is it Uti? I'm sorry, I'm not more that somebody's name. Uti, if you're here, you're up for the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes. I wanted to say a few things, but I think it's everything has been said. Thank you, Uyi, for the question section where you had to bring in the AU Charter. Project Spark is really centered around Africa and Africa development. So it's not just Nigeria. And if you look carefully at the debate, you'll see that we had a Sierra Leonean engaging in the debate. And just like I said, Project Spark is not just for Nigeria, it is an African project. This is the point where I have to say a very big thank you to all the invited guests, our special guest, our guest speaker, Mr. Charles Colmore, and yes, Aliwa has been very, very supportive of the Project Spark project, and it's been really incredible. It's been an incredible journey so far for Project Spark. With Project Spark, we have been able to graduate the first. Okay, we've not graduated yet, but 2 cohorts have been started. The first have completed a 90%, have undergone a 90% completion, and the second is at a 40% at the moment. So it's been a very wonderful ride so far, and for everyone, I would also like to say for everyone who registered on the link which was shared, we would be sending out this meeting, this event recap to your mails, and also we'll be sending out a feedback form as well. It's very imperative that we get your feedback and the suggestions on what is obtainable as well, your suggestions as well as to how to better improve the Project Spark events and everything that happens to be connected to Project Spark. We're also open to partnerships and collaborations. Just like I said earlier, Project Spark is an African project, and it's one that is not just going to catalyze the African society, but then this cannot be done just by the few members of the team. We are very open to collaborations and partnerships. I also want to say a very big thank you to Agnes and Hashim. You guys have been supportive right from day one, and brilliant facilitation and coordination of the debate. I really thank you for taking up this and putting in and giving us the very best. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I would also say a very big thank you to everyone who has attended this event. I would say, or you would agree with me, that you've taken out 1 or 2 key takeaways from this, and it's important that we continue the conversation going. You can continue this conversation on the social media space, and our social media handles just Project Spark. Once you type on Project Spark, it comes up. So you could always continue the conversation, and we'll be happy to engage you. That's all for me, and once again, thank you very much. Agnes, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, that's it, guys. I really enjoyed myself, and I really hope that everyone that joined had a swell time as well. So I just want to use this opportunity to thank everyone that made this event a success. Thank you you so much to the Aliwa family. I mean, hats out for you. I can see that most of the participants, including Mrs. Maji earlier on, that showed up. I think she has stepped out. Thank you so much for deciding to just turn up, for the Aliwa family. Thank you so much. Oluchi, I saw you. I mean, Ernest, I cannot even start mentioning names. Thank you so much to the speakers, the keynote address, the person who took the keynotes, the facilitators. Hashim has dropped off. He said his phone is the battery his phone's battery is down. So the keynote address taker, the Google message guys, you had a couple of them. And then of course the debaters. Thank you so much, you guys. I mean, I cannot imagine the amount of time that you put into making today's success, because the debate is like the highlight of the event. Thank you for giving us something to watch, something to to take down and have mental notes about. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. And of course, a huge shout out to the SPAC family, the Project SPAC family, for putting all of this together, for bringing all of us together. And of course, thank you so much for giving me the privilege to facilitate this session. I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a beautiful Saturday. Bye.